Hey guys, I'm here today to give you a quick overview on how to get started using your Noble grids. So we're just going to go into the print module, and if you've already followed our tutorial on how to install the grids, they're going to be all located on the left hand side here, and you're going to see them organized by spacing. So we have the Noble grids bold, story and story sequences, and then we have Noble grids clean, which is no spacing, the stories and sequences, and then fine, which is a very thin spacing with the stories and the sequences. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you guys how to use one of the bold templates. If you're wanting to just get a quick overview of all the ones in the pack, you can just scroll over real quick. I'm just going to click on one here and show you how simple and easy it is to use to just drag and drop your photos in. So first things first, we'll just take a photo, drop it in. I'm going to bring in another photo here and then another one here. And if you decide you don't like an image, instead of hitting delete, you're just going to place the image right on top and just replace it that way. If you do hit delete, not to worry, you can just hit Apple Z, or if you feel like you've deleted something too permanently, you can always go back, click from start and start over. I'm just going to hit Apple Z to get back to where I was. So from here, if you want to move an image around within a cell, you're just going to hold down the command key, and as you can tell, you can drag it around a little bit, just depending on the shape of the cell. Sometimes we have square boxes and things in some of these different designs, so you'll be able to have a little more flexibility moving the image around, but just kind of depending on what the size is. Now, if you do want to crop or zoom in on an image or even change the coloring, all you're going to do is hit D for develop, and that brings you right into the develop module. And I think that's one of the best things about having these templates within Lightroom is that you can make these changes super easily and just kind of have a cleaner overall look. So to zoom in on this, instead of actually zooming in on the original file, I'm going to right click and just create a virtual copy. That way it won't mess up anything that I'm actually going to be delivering to a client. I can just crop in and then hit Apple P, and I'm right back into the print module. Now down below you can see the little virtual copy I made. I'm just going to drag that in and voila, there it is. Next up, I'm going to just show you an example in our stories. These were created specifically with Instagram stories in mind, so they're all sized accordingly so they'll upload just perfectly, and we also created these templates with a lot more white space so that you can add some custom text or your logo or tag different vendors or people that you've worked with, so they have a little bit more flexibility in that regard. So I'm going to go ahead and just go down and share one example with you. I'm just going to click on this one, and as you can see, we have our little optional text box here. I'll show you how to use that in just a moment. I'm just going to fill this in with some images real quick, just dragging and dropping them in just like that, and this last one here. And then to change the text, all you have to do is double click it, and it's open for you right there. You just highlight it and you can change it possibly to the bride's name, or maybe a wedding date or a title. Even you can change your identity plate to actually be your logo, which is also a really cool option. And then any of your fonts that you have stored on your computer are going to show up here. So I'm just going to go down and select a font that we typically use for our branding. It is a little finicky, so you do need to make sure that you select it and then click on the font, and that way you'll see it change and you'll be good to go. So I'm just going to click that, and if it feels a little too large, you can either scale it down by dragging it in, or if you want to keep it where it's centered, you can just use this little tool over here to scale, which is really nice and easy. So I'm just going to leave it right about there, and that looks pretty good. Now I can also show you guys how to change your identity plate. To do that, you're going to go up to the top here to Lightroom. So changing your identity plate will mean that anywhere that we have this identity plate box checked, your font will show up. So to get rid of the identity plate or anywhere that you don't want text, you just uncheck that box. But if you do want it for an option, you can go up here to identity plate setup and permanently change your identity plate there. So if I did want to have our branded font appear on all of the ones that have text, I'm just going to type in a little optional text. Make sure that you select it again. It is a little bit finicky, so you might have to try setting this a few times, or just really make sure that you did highlight it and then hit OK. Now that that's changed, any of the the ones that I click on that have room for text. Say for example, I click on this one, it's gonna have my branded font there down below. So I'm gonna hit Apple Z to get me back to where I was. So this is a great thing about the identity plate is that you can add a little more customization and a little more brandedness to your Insta stories. The one downfall is you can only add one line of text. So it's great for a header or something like that, a title, but if you do want to add more text, I just recommend doing it within Instagram stories. That way you can use the live tags to tag vendors or locations, and those people will be notified as well. If you're going to be wanting to move the identity plate around and reposition it, one great thing to do is to turn on the show guides. That way you can really make sure that you're centering it. It is a little bit hard. Lightroom doesn't have the ability to show it like snap into place. So turning on the show guides is really nice if you're rearranging or anything like that. Also, another thing to point out is if you guys are working within Lightroom and you don't like how something is arranged, you can delete cells or move cells to your liking. If you wanted this to be a square or you just wanted to rearrange, you absolutely can do that. It is a little tricky to get everything aligned perfectly. We had to do a lot of math and equating to get everything to line up properly. So I would just recommend to turn on the guides and really make sure that you are getting everything even and spaced out properly. In order to export them, all you have to do is click print to file and just save them just like you would a regular JPEG image. And then from there, you can use an app like Planoly, or you can just airdrop them to your phone and just instantly upload them to social media for use. The last thing I wanted to tell you guys about is our Instagram story sequences. These were created just to make creating Instagram stories a little faster. So we have 6 designs in each of these sequences. If you're wanting to kind of tell a story a little bit better and visually see it all laid out, you can easily drag and drop your photos in and just have a nice overview of how they're all going to look. And then you can also easily export them all at the same time. So that's a really nice tool for you guys, and we hope that's something you find really useful. If there's a design that you don't like, you simply just exit out, and that one won't export with all of your other designs. So that's another super easy. They're exactly the same adjustments and everything that you can make on the regular stories. They're just exporting all together as a group. And the only limitation here is that you can only use one identity plate. So we tried to have those kind of be like a title page. Again, once you're in Instagram, you can always tag vendors and put more text there. But for this one, you'll just have one text for the entire sequence. So I hope that was really helpful. A few problem-solving things before I sign off. If anything is looking a little funky or uneven, sometimes when you're looking at these grids, depending on your screen size, they might look a little wonky or like they're not going to have proper spacing, but a lot of that is just dependent on the screen size. So once you actually export them, everything should line up properly. If you're having any issues with Lightroom where maybe you hit Apple Z to undo something and it doesn't work, sometimes Lightroom just needs to be restarted and some of those glitches will work themselves out. So if you are having any issues or images aren't moving around properly within the cells or things are exporting funky, we just really recommend trying to restart Lightroom and jump back in and see if those issues are fixed. If not, of course, please reach out to us for support, but hopefully that will solve those issues. So we hope you guys have a great time using these grids, and we really hope that they make creating content for your social media really fun and easy and inspiring, and we can't wait to see what you guys create.